What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All-22 NFL Show, the official channel of the All-22 Fantasy Football platform. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, go to all-22.com. Ray, the season is a wrap. How we feeling?
Yeah, sad. It's bittersweet. Now we have a long off season ahead of us, but it's also exciting because it means it's draft season. There is no off season. It is now draft season. Yeah, which we're going to touch on a little bit in the recap show. But yeah, it's draft season. It's curling season. Big curling match against the Italians today. So enjoy the Winter Olympics. Just, competition never stops. It never stops. But it is draft season. But before we dive head first into draft season, we do have a game to recap.
We have a game to recap, Ray, and just a lot of I told you so's, I think. I think this is like the I told you so episode. Patriots got absolutely smacked. The Seahawks showed up for work. I think I called MVP Kenneth Walker, right? Dude, this is the I told you so episode.
Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself patting yourself on the back there.
Yeah, I almost knocked myself over. But no, let's talk about some big storylines of this game. And it's funny because Kenneth Walker got the MVP, but I'm looking right now at Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross, both tackles for the Seattle Seahawks, right? 89.9 grade and a 76.9 grade. So two of the three highest grading Seahawks offensive players were their tackles. Like, there's a reason why things happen, right? There's a reason why running backs are able to play the way they do. Walker was fantastic. There was one run, I don't know if you remember, where he was hesitating behind the offensive line, took a moment and then hit the hole, got like a 10-yard gain instead of getting like hit in the backfield. Like, he did create on his own as well, but those two guys were absolutely fantastic for the Seahawks.
Yeah, we talked about before the game last week that the Patriots on defense were going to have to manufacture pressure and havoc on the offensive line because of the two teams. They had the clear superior advantage on the offensive line, in particular at offensive tackle as well, with those guys that you mentioned. And yeah, they came and showed up to work, and the Patriots defense did that for a little bit early on. They hung around as best they could, but the talent was too much to overcome. So I talked about where that horseshoe was for the Patriots last week. It was extracted by game time, and the Seahawks, they got it done, and it started with that offensive line. Those offensive tackles in particular, paving the way for Kenneth Walker. He had a couple big runs, turning the corner too, especially early in the first half, off the left tackle there. But also allowing Sam Darnold to do what he does. We talked about how neither of these quarterbacks were going to take the game over. That's not how they win. Sam Darnold was more the type to lean on that running game, kind of pick and choose his spots, and then hit a dagger late, which is exactly how it played out with the touchdown to A.J. Barner late in the second half. After that running game kind of wore on them, they used play action quite a bit, and he was able to hit his spots when the time came, as opposed to the entire game plan resting on his shoulders. They didn't have to do that. So kudos to the Seahawks. They won in the exact way that we said they should win if they were to win. They played Seahawks football. So all the credit to them, and it starts with that offensive line and those offensive tackles.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much credit you're willing to give Sam Darnold, but there were some times in this game, especially in the beginning of the game, where I was watching Sam Darnold going, please don't be the reason why you lose this game. Like, don't make that throw. Like, you don't have to make that throw so tight and in that tight window, like trying to just fit things in when you're in control of this game, right? Slow down, take your foot off the pedal a little bit, and ride the wave that you have, which is your offensive line and your running back and that fantastic defense, and don't try to be a hero. I saw a little bit of hero ball from him early on, and it was making me nervous when the game was tight, right? They weren't scoring touchdowns. They were just getting those field goals, and I was waiting for that one big play that Sam Darnold was going to let up, where he turns the ball over and it creates a big opportunity for the Patriots. And luckily for him, it didn't happen.
No, he adjusted, and we talk about he's been in the league, 8 years now, but yeah, it's like a Drake May 8 years. Like, it might as well be 2 because it was with the Jets and then like the Panthers. Like, he's only really played like real competent NFL football with a competent organization. What? The Vikings and now the Seahawks. Basically the same age as Drake May as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I think, hey, it's the Super Bowl. You know, you come out a bit jazzed up and then things settle down. It becomes just another game after a couple of series and drives. And you realize, hey, I'm just going to do what I do and make it happen. That's all. That's all they did. Stood ahead of the chains, stayed on schedule, and as long as you don't make that critical mistake, you have the talent advantage. The odds are in your favor of winning the game, unless the Patriots were to turn those knobs and dials like we said they would have to in order to win the game. If you're on the Patriots side, and they just couldn't get it done. They tried a couple, it just wasn't there. So. Yeah, Seahawks just from start to finish just kind of suffocated them.
Yeah, and while we're talking about the Seahawks defense, I want to transition to the Seahawks offense. I want to transition to the Patriots defense. We talked about Vrabel being such a great head coach, and it was going to be up to him who was the better coach. And I do think that he did a lot more with a lot less, right? Like, there aren't a lot of huge names on that Patriots team altogether. But the one superstar that they do have, Christian Gonzalez, on that defense, and I shouldn't say the one, but the really big superstar they have is Christian Gonzalez. I think that was potentially the best corner performance I've seen in the playoffs this year for sure. Like 86.8 coverage grade, just was basically unstoppable, right? Like, how many times did they try to go over his head? How many times did he have to catch up to a receiver and make a huge play? I'm trying to look at how many batted balls he had. 3 pass breakups.
On 5 targets. On five
targets. Like, that was a game for Christian Gonzalez. Like, it's happened before where they choose a non-winning team player to be MVP. And I think there was a case that Christian Gonzalez should have been MVP of this game.
He was the best player on the field for either team. He clearly was. But you can only affect the game so much as a corner unless they give you one that you could take back. And that was not the case. I mean, to just track down Rashid Shaheed on a deep post and make that break early on. He kept the Patriots in the game as long as he possibly could.
There's like 2 people in the world that can do that. And he's one of them.
Yeah. And you're looking at the other one. But yeah, it was fantastic play by him. And just overall, I think that also highlights kind of the negative, though, in that who else could they lean on either side of the ball? That was it.
Marcus
there was
Jones,
no
baby.
Next level guy.
Marcus Jones just balled out too. I love Marcus Jones. Dude, 5'8". Are you kidding me? Guy's a superstar.
Yeah, for whatever that's worth. But again, the Seahawks didn't have to put the ball in harm's way
No.
They didn't have to take a chance on those guys who were playing so well for the Patriots. They just said, fine, we'll run for 6, run for 5, run for 4, run for 6. Little A.J. Barr a first down here and there. And that's all they needed. Oh, we have to settle for a field goal. Oh, well, at least we're not turning it over. And that's all they needed to do.
That's it. And I mean, I think now where the real credit is due in this game is the Seahawks defense, right? Like, as a unit, nobody played better than the Seahawks defense. And again, it's kind of what we expected. It's kind of what I thought was going to happen. That defensive front with Leonard Williams and your boy DeMarcus Lawrence, like the amount of pressure, Byron Murphy, who, by the way, we loved as a prospect, right? Like, that's why you draft a guy like that. They were creating pressure often and frequently, and it was relentless. Like, Drake May, for all the knocks you can give him for his performance in this game, the pressure that was coming to him all game long was just nonstop. And then on top of that, like, you have Devin Witherspoon and Nick Emenwari making plays. Even Kobe Bryant had a great game. Your boy Josh Jobe had a great game. Like,
a great tackling game. Relax.
He had a 69.2 grade, 66.7 coverage grade. Like, if that's your scrub, like, that's a good scrub to have in this game.
Yeah, that was their scrub, and he played good. He played well.
He played very well. So I just think, you have to give the credit where it's due to this Seahawks defense. It really was. Like, again, like, I think Kyle Shanahan said it better than anyone. There's 2 defenses in the NFL that could win games completely on their own, and it was the Seahawks and the Texans. And one of them had a good offense, right? And that's the one we saw win the Super Bowl, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you dive a bit deeper, a lot of people talk about the Patriots' offensive tackles, and there's a conversation to be had, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But of the 6 sacks, for the Seahawks defense, only 2 were by an edge rusher and Derek Hall.
Yep.
They timed their Witherspoon blitz perfectly. The pick 6 by Mosu was a pick 6, not a sack, but either way, that would not have been a sack from an edge rusher, right? And then you had 2 by Byron Murphy. So the pressure literally came from everywhere, while at the same time, they weren't necessarily bringing extra rushers frequently to pressure Drake May. So that just is a nightmare formula for a young quarterback. The pressure's in your face, but yet there's still 7 in coverage, 6 at the least, every time you drop back and throw the football. You're not going to win a football game. You're just not going to win that way. And you're going to end up taking chances of putting the ball in harm's way, which is what happened late. But you can't win consistently as an offense or score points as an offense consistently if that's what your quarterback is dealing with. So, I mean, the Seahawks defense just absolutely brought it at every single level while not actually bringing it from every single level because they were only rushing 4, maybe 5 tops, save a couple plays here or there, if that. So, yeah, kudos to the Seahawks defense. They did what they were supposed to do. The vibes for the Patriots ran out. They had to hit a Butte shot deep, and it just never happened. They tried a hitch to him on like 3rd and 8. That was just wasn't working. You didn't have Henderson break a big one or anything. The things that they needed to happen to have that puncher's chance that they were living off of during their just vibes run all the way to the Super Bowl just weren't there at all this entire game. And yeah, we just basically watched just a clinic be put on by the Seahawks, and the Patriots really had no answer for it because they couldn't move the line of scrimmage and they couldn't protect long enough to make something happen through the air.
Before we get to that, the one other guy I just want to give a shout out because he didn't have the greatest game ever. Ernest Jones, 86.6 run defensive grade. That was pretty awesome. And I liked watching him play. I thought he played the run really well. Imagine a guy like that, right? Like you're a young player in the league. You're doing really well. The Rams basically gave him away to the Seahawks. And it's like to be in that moment and be like, I was an afterthought. Now I'm playing for one of the best defenses of the modern era and like playing at this high level on this great defense must have been so cool for him. So he's a player I really like. So I'm happy for him and that he got that win. Let's go and talk about that New England offense because that is kind of where the conversation has to take us. And tell me, because you actually named this episode before I joined, the Will Campbell episode. Like, what's your gripe? Let's hear it.
There's so much discourse on Twitter and everything else, and I'm not going to jump into the deep end there and I'll give my take, whatever else. You have Duke Manyweather, you have Mitchell Schwartz, so you probably have both Schwartzes talking about it at this point, about Will Campbell needing to be moved to guard, right? His arms are too short. You got to move him inside, whatever else. Okay, fine. Then what? Who's your tackle? Who are you going to put at left tackle to protect Drake May? You just made it to the Super Bowl. You're picking 31st in the NFL draft. They're not just going to let a franchise left tackle fall to you at 31 in the draft. Maybe you get Monroe Freeling if you're lucky. Maybe, if that. I mean, you're playing with fire. So what's your plan? You're going to go to free agency? Have you looked at the list of free agents in 2026 at offensive tackle? There's maybe one name that can kind of get you excited as a Patriots fan at offensive tackle, and it's your boy, Rasheed Walker. That's not like this isn't an all-pro player. This isn't someone you just say we don't have to worry about the opposing defense and whoever they have at edge rusher because we got Rasheed Walker at left tackle now. Like, hey, if you're in the AFC and you're in the playoffs, you're still going to have to worry about Will Anderson if Rasheed Walker is your left tackle. Like, that doesn't solve all of your problems. So regardless of the arm length and where you think Will Campbell projects best, what is your plan? You can't just say move him inside and then you're just going to shake a tree in the backyard and a left tackle is going to fall out to protect Drake May for the next 10 years. What's your plan? You're picking too late in the draft. And you know what the plan is. Well, here's the thing, Chris. Your roster, which we talked about before the Super Bowl, and it was on display, your roster is not so strong that you can mortgage future assets to move up to get a tackle in the draft that you feel so strongly about. You still have holes elsewhere on this team. Your receivers, your number one receiver is old, right? Your defense has one, maybe two cornerstone players on it. You have a young quarterback you still need to build around. You don't have any other game breakers there that you can really rely on. This was an 8-9 win roster that rode a really hot quarterback, young quarterback who's going to be around for a long time, to the Super Bowl. But to sustain that, you need a stronger roster. So you can't mortgage the future on this one position just to cover the blind side because you have holes elsewhere. And that's even if you just assume that Will Campbell is just going to immediately take to offensive guard and have no adjustment there either. There's so much more than just, he's got short arms, move him inside. We talked about this in our episode, in our Will Campbell film study last year that, hey, he may be a good guard. I can kind of see it. But he's played a year at tackle, and there's going to be an adjustment. Things move very fast on the interior of the line there, and he's got to be quick with his punch regardless. So it's crazy how quickly the narrative can shift based off of one game when you are so close to the mountaintop, and then you get just knocked down, and now you're looking around and going, we got the 31st pick. We draft late in every round, and we have to improve upon what's really like a 9-win roster. And that's what the Patriots are looking at right now. And you don't solve all your problems by kicking Will Campbell inside, the 4th overall pick, thinking you're going to nab someone at 31 who's just going to be better and just waltz right in there and fix all your problems on the offensive front. It's not how it works, unless you get extremely lucky.
The answer's on the roster. His name's Michael Onwenu. He's the guy they move around the offensive line, and they're going to move him again. That's what's going to happen. No, but in reality, Ray, I think you're forgetting something even more kind of monumental for this team. You have free agent money to spend it, so I'm not going to knock them for doing that last year, right? But let's look at the offensive line in its totality, right? At right tackle, you have 34-year-old Morgan Moses, so you don't really have an answer at right tackle either. That's going to get old fast. Right at right guard, you have Michael Onwenu if you keep him there, which we know they don't. At center, you have Garrett Bradbury, who was also pretty bad yesterday, right? Like he had a rough game also. Then at who's their left guard? Jared Wilson. Okay, rookie, played well. Let's keep that one going. But then you have Will Campbell, and who are your receivers? Who are your trusted long-term receivers? Diggs with a lawsuit. Kyle Williams, Demario Douglas, like it's okay, right? Like it's okay, but you don't have your superstar receiver either. So this roster has a lot more to figure out than just left tackle, right? Like my hope is you let Will Campbell play the position again next year, see if he could figure it out, because honestly, I think that's what you have to do. You drafted him that early. You need to kind of stick with it. Hope Morgan Moses is back for another year. Again, you have Jared Wilson, but what else do you have? Like, you need to draft interior offensive linemen in a big way. You need to figure out receiver in a big way. And you got to hope that your defense can sustain the success that they had. Like, that's really what this roster needs to do.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel is a phenomenal coach, and they're going to have to continue to rely on him being a phenomenal coach. He's going to have to continue to turn 9 wins into 12 and try to make runs in the postseason. Because they're not going to have an overwhelming unit like some of these other teams in the AFC when it's late in the year and you're looking to make a run. The roster is still not there. It hasn't been all year, but they've been making it work. But sometimes you just, the clock strikes midnight on Cinderella, and that's essentially what happened. And now you have to deal with, the hangover the next day. The Super Bowl hangover is real. And when you have a roster like this, it can get really real, really fast. And they've got some moves they have to make. They've got some work to do.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Because you don't want to have to go into a draft saying, I have all these needs. Like, you do need to go into free agency and find guys that you could fill a roster with. Let's see what happens with the Patriots team. But we talked about it last week. I didn't see this team as a Super Bowl contender. I think there's a lot of luck that happened that got them to this place. But to your point as well, right? When you have a superstar quarterback, anything is possible. You could always be back here. You could always be at this level. But they got to have some things really go right for them. Any last thoughts on this Super Bowl run that we had?
Come on. How happy? Sam Darnold. I feel so vindicated. I was laughed at. I was jeered. Okay. They threw eggs at me in the street, just the amount of hate that I took for being a Sam Darnold truther from day one. from day one. Look at him now. He's a Super Bowl champion. He is the Super Bowl champion of that draft class. Not Josh Allen, not Lamar Jackson. Sam Darnold is a Super Bowl champion. And it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. This is his second year in a row. He's played phenomenal football and won a ton of games. You don't have to be a game-breaking all-pro, take over the game in order to be a winning player. And he's always had the ability to be a winning quarterback, whether or not he's ever a top 3 or 5 quarterback in the league, or even 8 quarterback in the league. But he's had the ability to win games, manage an offense, make the plays that are needed to be made. And for the second year in a row, he's done that. Unlike in 2024, this year, his offensive line did not collapse around him late, and he was able to continue doing what he does best and win a Super Bowl by just being a very, very, very good game manager. That's not an insult whatsoever. You manage the game until it's time to throw the knockout punch. You jab, and then he hits you with an overhand right and knocks you out for the 10 count. And that's exactly what he did. That's what he does. And people don't love it because it's not flashy. There's not a ton of Twitter highlights to it, but it works. It's effective. It's a great fit. Masterclass by the Seahawks in team building, finding the right guy, no hesitation, dumping their starter last year and making a move for Sam Darnold to make this all happen. You have to give kudos to John Schneider. You have to give kudos to Sam Darnold. You have to give kudos to me, Chris, even though you won't, for staying on the Sam Darnold train when it was unpopular. But I am super happy for Sam Darnold. I think it's an awesome story. And I'm really happy for him. And I guess the 12s, as they call them out in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for him too, man. And I will give you credit. I think Sam Darnold deserves a lot of credit for the run that they went on. And you said it, being a really good game manager. He didn't have a 75 graded game since week 9. Just going to point that out, right? This really was not phenomenal quarterback play. It was good quarterback play on a great team and a great run team and a well-built team. But credit to Sam Darnold for sure. I do think this is what more teams should try to replicate. I think a lot of teams try to replicate the Patriots, the Chiefs, like the runs that those teams went on. And I get why, right? If you have that superstar quarterback, like that's a great thing to have and you want to try to win that way. But like build your trenches, man. Build your trenches because any given year that team will be good. Like it doesn't matter, right? It will be good. So build the trenches, get a quarterback that can really sustain you and go shoot your shot. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah. I think Shireen Williams put it very nicely on Twitter and pretty succinctly. The difference between the Seahawks and the Houston Texans was that Sam Darnold did not turn the ball over and put it in harm's way. CJ Stroud did. That's why
Seattle,
one dominant defense made the Super Bowl.
I disagree. I disagree 100%.
Of course you do. Of course you do, because you don't actually like Sam Darnold.
I do like Sam Darnold, but like it's offensive line play. It's like, okay,
that's a part of it.
CJ Stroud turned the ball over, but his offensive line was atrocious, right? Like you look at the Seahawks offensive line, you have tackles that are really strong. You have a center, a guard. They played him at guard, Grace Abel, that they drafted in the first round. Like they built this offensive line for success, and it gave Sam Darnold time, and it gave him the ability to do what he needed to do in the Super Bowl. CJ Stroud does not have that, right? Drake May does not have that. Those are the things that teams need to be willing to do to be able to be like to lead these young quarterbacks to actual success. I want to see more of it.
Yeah, I forgot I was talking to the CJ Stroud truther here, but no, you are right. It starts in the trenches, and that's why I talk about team building success from the Seahawks. They did that. If you ask Sam Darnold
if you're going to bash CJ Stroud, bash Drake May for the same things, right? He turned the ball over 4-6 times. What was it yesterday? A lot, right? Like, but I didn't think Drake May played a terrible game. He had 0.1 seconds to get the ball out of his hand.
He had more than 0.1. You could look up the time to throw. It was more than that. But yes, the point is, if you had asked Sam Darnold to be Drake May, you don't get the same result.
Correct.
So you have to you have to fit your pieces to what they do best, and the Seahawks did that better than anyone. And the Patriots, the coaching staff, God bless them, they took that roster as far as they possibly could until they finally ran into a juggernaut in that Seahawks team. We're both right. Yes, the why CJ Stroud turned the ball over is the offensive line, and then it happens. But I'm just saying, Chris, don't come at Shireen like that when she's not here to defend herself.
Did you see there was a guy that did like he's like an actor or something, and he was pretending to be each of the quarterbacks from the Sam Darnold class, right? And it was like Lamar like looking into the future, and he's like, hey, like what's gonna happen with my career? And it's like, you're gonna win 3 MVPs, have an awesome career. And then it was Josh Allen. It's like same with you, man. Like, you're gonna be awesome. You're gonna lead the Bills to a lot of success. And then it's Baker, and it's like, hey, like you're gonna have some hard times, but like you're gonna be a really good quarterback in the NFL. And then it's like Sam Darnold. It's like, you're gonna play for 5 teams in your first 6 years in the NFL, but you're gonna be the first to win a Super Bowl. And it's like, oh shoot, that's cool. Like it was awesome. Definitely love when guys make content like that. It's super fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely love it. So yeah, again, I'm so happy for Sam Darnold, man. And what a fumble by the rest of the AFC while the Chiefs didn't even make the tournament. That's crazy. You're going to look back on this one, man, and it's going to sting.
But I really do believe if Bo Nix didn't get hurt, the Broncos versus the Seahawks would have been a really fun Super Bowl, because I think the Broncos were that team.
Yeah, we were robbed of a great Super Bowl, but it was still a great Super Bowl. It's a Super Bowl.
It was a great Super Bowl. People hate defensive Super Bowls. I love them. I absolutely like Christian Gonzalez was blowing my mind yesterday.
Yes. How could you not love that? How could you not love watching Christian Gonzalez play football?
Exactly. Marcus Jones.
Josh Jobe even made like a tackle in the flat. It was fantastic.
I texted, and for all you out there, I texted Ray immediately. I was like, Jobe, dude, like he crushed it. It was fun. It was a good day. What was your favorite food you ate?
Oh man. I had some really good shrimp cocktail at my mother-in-law's house. It was just, nice cocktail sauce and everything, a little lemon on it. It was bougie. So it wasn't the traditional meat, that like knocks you out for like 4 hours afterwards. Mm-hmm. Just like nice, just a light and just kind of hit the spot shrimp. So yeah, I'm going to go with seafood for my favorite there. Some shrimp cocktail. Nice. What about you?
S&J Deli. My dad got a 3-foot hero, right? So he did ham, turkey, Swiss cheese, lettuce, tomato, mayo on like a 3-foot hero. It was amazing. Shout out to S&J and Hopewell.
Do you have any left over?
I refuse to take it. I literally think I've gained 8 pounds in the past. Who's it about?
I don't live that far from you. I would have gotten some. That sounds pretty good.
No, dude. You don't need that, bro. You don't need that. Look at you.
You're right. I don't. That's the problem. And you could have helped me out. You could have did me a solid, but instead, I got some chicken poppers in the fridge. Yeah. I'll heat some up. Yeah.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't yet, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF, and give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts. Have a great rest of your day.